Imagine a calm night, where the sky is clear and the moon shines brightly, illuminating everything around you. You look up at it, and for a moment, you wonder, how can something so distant affect my life here on Earth? This question, which many of us have likely asked ourselves, is much more complex than it seems. The moon, although it appears to be just a distant satellite, has been a source of fascination and study for millennia. But what you might not know is that it can have a direct impact on your daily life, your behavior, and even your well-being. Did you know that the phases of the moon can influence your sleep, emotions, and even the decisions you make? And what if I told you that by better understanding how these lunar cycles affect your life, you could make more assertive decisions, improve your mental health, and create a sense of abundance and well-being in your life? The moon, with its 28-day cycle, not only influences tides and natural cycles, but also our bodies, minds, and spirits. Scientists have discovered that the phases of the moon have a surprising relationship with human biological rhythms. For example, during the full moon, many people report feeling extra energy or even inexplicable anxiety. During the waning moon, however, a desire for introspection and detachment often emerges, as if it were the ideal moment to leave behind what no longer serves you. But how does this work? How can something as seemingly simple as the moon have such influence over us? The answer lies in our own bodies. We are largely made of water, and the moon exerts a gravitational pull on the oceans, creating the tides. This same pull can affect the fluids in our bodies, and, therefore, our internal rhythms. Recent studies suggest that our sleep patterns, energy levels, and even our emotional states are linked to these changes in lunar cycles. So, the next time you look at the moon, remember, it's not just up there, lighting up the night. It's doing more than that. It's influencing your life in ways you may never have imagined. Now, with this new perspective, you can begin to explore the power the moon has over your behavior and emotions, and how this can be used to transform your life, creating a journey of self-awareness and perhaps even abundance. Since the dawn of civilization, the moon has been a figure of mystery and reverence. Throughout history, different cultures have attributed a variety of supernatural powers to the moon, such as influencing crops, tides, and even fertility cycles. But what does science say about these effects? Does the moon really have the power to shape our behavior or even our emotions? Let's start with the scientific evidence supporting the idea that the moon influences humans. In 1985, researchers from Duke University conducted a study suggesting a correlation between the full moon and sleep disturbances. The research indicated that during this phase, volunteers took longer to fall asleep and had poorer quality sleep. The scientific explanation for this could be related to the increased brightness of the full moon, which interferes with individuals' circadian rhythm, making it harder to rest properly. Additionally, tides are another clear phenomenon caused by the moon's gravitational force. When the moon aligns with the Earth and the Sun, a more intense high tide, known as the syzygy tide, occurs. This happens twice a month, during the full and new moons. The research also suggests that these effects may extend beyond the oceans and affect the fluids inside the human body. But what about human behavior? Studies conducted by scientists such as Dr. Michael Smolensky, professor of biophysics at the University of Texas, show that the moon can affect people's emotions and behavior. In 2002, Smolensky suggested that the full moon could cause an increase in emotional agitation, leading to impulsive and even aggressive behavior. He linked this to a disruption in biological rhythms and the increased production of stress-related hormones. In other words, the full moon could influence our emotional reactions, making us more vulnerable to mood swings. This is not a coincidence. The full moon can amplify feelings of anxiety or excitement, which often reflects in impulsive actions, such as making hasty decisions or experiencing moments of high emotional tension. Still, the moon's impact is not limited to the full moon. During the new moon, the process of introspection tends to be stronger. The new moon is a time for renewal, to leave behind old habits, and begin new journeys. This is a favorable moment to start new projects, or even make significant personal changes. The effects of the new moon are, in some ways, more subtle, but no less powerful. Therefore, by understanding these dynamics, we can become more aware of how the moon interacts with our bodies and minds. And the most fascinating thing is that, by recognizing these cycles, we can learn to use these energies in our favor, aligning ourselves better with the natural rhythms of the universe. Feeling good about this content? Then like the video and share it with your friends. The more people can reflect on the impact of the moon, the richer our exchange of ideas will be. Let's continue this conversation together. When we talk about the impact of the moon on human behavior, it's impossible to ignore the concept of the circadian rhythm. This biological phenomenon, which occurs in all living beings, is directly related to the functioning of the human body and its sleep-wake patterns. But how does the moon influence this cycle? The circadian rhythm is essentially the body's internal clock, which regulates periods of sleep and activity over a roughly 24-hour cycle. This cycle is mainly governed by light, especially sunlight, which has a direct effect on melatonin production, the hormone that regulates sleep. However, what many people don't know is that moonlight can also affect this internal clock, albeit in a more subtle way. Research in neuroscience shows that the circadian rhythm is extremely sensitive to light, especially blue light, which is abundant during the day. At night, darkness signals the brain that it's time to rest. However, during the full moon, the amount of light emitted by the moon can be enough to affect melatonin production, interfering with the circadian rhythm and making sleep difficult. In a study published in 2013 in the journal Current Biology, researchers from the University of Basel Medical School in Switzerland found that people tend to sleep more lightly and take longer to fall asleep during the full moon. This phenomenon was observed even when participants were unaware of the lunar phase, suggesting that the moon's effect on sleep is an unconscious biological process. But the moon's impact on the circadian rhythm is not limited to sleep. The circadian rhythm also affects energy levels, digestion, and even mood. When there's interference in this cycle, like the extra light from the full moon, we may experience changes in our mood, productivity, and even emotional state. It's as if the body is being called to function outside its natural rhythm, causing a sense of misalignment. Furthermore, the effects of the moon on the circadian rhythm may be more pronounced in some people than others. Factors such as age, mental health, light sensitivity, and sleep habits can amplify or diminish lunar interference. For example, people more sensitive to light may feel a stronger impact from the full moon, while others may not notice any difference. This understanding leads us to reflect on how we can improve our connection with natural cycles, including the effects of the moon on the body. Knowing that the moon can affect our sleep and, consequently, our well-being, we can adopt habits that minimize these effects, such as using dark curtains, avoiding intense light exposure at night, and creating a peaceful, comfortable environment for sleep. Ultimately, understanding the circadian rhythm and its relationship with the moon not only helps us better understand our body's biological patterns, but also allows us to live more in tune with the natural rhythms of the Earth. Did you know that the moon can affect more than just your sleep? Many cultural traditions around the world associate the moon with changes in human behavior, especially in regard to emotions. But does this connection between the moon and our emotions have any scientific basis? Let's explore this further. The lunar phenomenon is undoubtedly fascinating. The idea that the phases of the moon can influence human behavior is ancient and spans across many cultures. The full moon, for example, is often linked to more intense behaviors, such as increased nighttime activity, higher rates of accidents, and even mood swings. But is there anything concrete behind these popular beliefs? Scientific research on the impact of the moon on human emotions is still limited, but some evidence suggests that yes, the moon may have a certain influence. A study conducted by researchers at the University of Edinburgh in Scotland found that, during the full moon, some people report feeling more anxious or even agitated. This study observed a slight alteration in melatonin levels during this period, which not only affects sleep, but is also linked to emotional control. Another important area of study is the relationship between the moon and behavioral changes, such as increased aggressiveness or excitement. Although the evidence is not conclusive, some research suggests that the full moon may influence behavior more noticeably in individuals with emotional or psychological disorders, such as those already dealing with anxiety or mood disorders. The idea is that the moon may amplify pre-existing emotional states, making people more vulnerable to impulsive behavior or exaggerated reactions. Interestingly, another study conducted by the University of Miami suggested that the full moon has the power to alter how people relate to their environment. During this period, it was observed that social activity increases and that more people are willing to go out, interact, or seek new stimuli. This increase in energy can be both positive and negative, depending on each individual's emotional predisposition. It is important to highlight that, although there are some signs that the moon has the potential to influence our emotions, caution is needed when attributing behavioral changes solely to lunar phases. Human behavior is complex and multidimensional, also influenced by internal and external factors such as stress, life experiences, and mental health conditions. Therefore, the moon may just be one piece of the puzzle, helping to explain behavioral patterns but not being the sole cause of such changes. Still, the relationship between the moon and human emotions offers a fascinating field for further studies. Who knows, in the future, we may better understand how natural forces like the moon interact with our emotional state, helping to explain some of the most intense experiences we go through. As we conclude our exploration of the moon's power over our behavior and emotions, one thing is clear: the mystery behind this connection still fascinates and challenges us. Even though science is still seeking definitive answers, the idea that natural forces influence our inner selves remains a profound reflection. While research continues to try to decipher the exact relationship between the moon and our emotions, many people still report personal experiences of behavioral changes during different lunar phases. Whether it's the full moon that stirs our energy or the new moon that triggers introspection, the fact is that it remains a constant presence in our lives. But perhaps the greatest lesson we can take from this journey is the realization that, whether or not we are aware of its influences, the world around us has a real impact on who we are. The moon, with its vastness and mystery, is not just a distant celestial body, but a metaphor for how external forces can shape our feelings and actions in ways we often cannot control. Ultimately, what really matters is not whether the moon has proven influence over us, but how we connect with it and the mysteries it represents. Perhaps, deep down, the important thing is the power of belief and the recognition that we are all part of something much bigger. After all, if the moon can cause tides in the oceans, who are we to doubt its ability to touch the depths of our soul? We'd love to hear from you. What are your beliefs about the power of the moon? Have you ever noticed a change in your mood during different lunar phases? Comment below and share your experiences with us. If you enjoyed this content, like the video and share it with your friends so we can continue this fascinating conversation.